Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for attending this meetup. My name is Denis Choukroun. I'm part of the HPE developer community, and I'm very pleased to have with us today Vandeveli and Roman from HPE GreenLake Cloud Research and Development Engineering team. And the topic for today is talking about the webhooks on HPE GreenLake Cloud. Before handing over to Roman and Vandeveli, I would like to take a couple of minutes just to provide you with some hints about the HPE developer community. So as you may know, we have a set of technology talks or thought leadership talks every month on the HPE developer community. We have a meetup. It's a technical talk about an HPE product and solutions, but also from our ISV partners or partners. We have a Munch and Learn, which is a thought leadership type of talk. And we recently launched a new webinar called AI Jam Series. It's to talk about, it's a panel discussion to talk about the foundational aspects of implementing artificial intelligence in an organization. As a community, we also offer a set of hands-on labs called Workshops on Demand. These are based on Jupyter notebooks. They are available to everyone for free from the internet. So give it a try. And as a community, we value your membership. So you can join the community by subscribing to our monthly newsletters, or you can join our Slack workspace and start a discussion on any product and solutions related to developers or any other personas such as data scientists, IT administrator, or IT operations. You can follow us on what we call Twitter, but it's X. And as a community, we value your contribution. So you can contribute to the community by posting and contributing through a blog post. You can reach out to us to deliver a technology talk, such as a meetup, or you can also reach out to us to enrich our workshops on demand catalog. Here you can scan the QR code or just connect to the developer.hpe.com, and I will copy all the links you see here in this slide on the chat of the webinar. During the call, if you have any questions, please ask your questions in the Q&A section of this webinar. And with that, I would like to hand over to Vandeveli and Roman to get started with the webhook and introduction to the webhook for HPE GreenLake Cloud. Thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. My name is Roman Narcissian, and with me today we have Vandeveli Silva. We are architects in GreenLake Cloud platform team, and today we are going to introduce introduction to the GreenLake Cloud webhooks, empowering real-time and secure and stable integrations with the GreenLake Cloud platform. Agenda today is pretty packed, so we'll try to navigate to the all aspects of it. We'll introduce what is the GreenLake Cloud webhooks. We'll introduce our event standard. What are the nuances of it? How we secure it? What are the RBAC mechanism behind it? We'll showcase the architecture behind of the webhook framework, and Vandeveli will do the quick demo, and there we'll have a Q&A session, and we'll tell like what is upcoming after this first part. So webhooks, many of you, I'm sure that they have interacted with the webhooks, but to the quick introduction, usually when we are integrating with the big systems like GreenLake Cloud platform, or let's say any other big enterprise framework or enterprise platform, usually we interact with them through the APIs. However, APIs are not addressing real-time or scalable, real-time scalable events. meaning that with events, you'll usually be able to configure something, you can actually interact with it, but it's always client driven. So client decides when to actually make the API call. With the webhooks and events, uh, actually platform or system behind it can actually inform the client what is happening. So webhooks is just kind of the way that as a client I can register the endpoint on my side that I want to receive events when something occurred on the platform. It allows the real-time interaction. It solves the polling mechanism that as a client, I don't need to every time go and pull the data when I think that it may occur. Actually, the platform will inform me when that event that I'm interested is happening. It also solves kind of a burden on a receiver side or a service side because every API is time consuming. However, events are more specific. We are sending more specific data that the client is interested. It's kind of a complementary. They are not like webhooks are not replacing the APIs. Usually, big enterprises are usually using bots, so you have to actually use bots to make your side user experience more enhanced. It's basically end-to-end integration, making it much easier because you can receive some event and then you can go and make some API code to, let's say, change some configuration or some data there on the system. What is GreenLake Cloud? Our webhooks. Basically, it solves the seamless integration with the GreenLake Cloud platform. It's a pan actually GreenLake, so we are expanding, and it will through our webhooks you will be able to receive the events not just from platform, but any actually GreenLake service which is present on the platform. It reduced the latency. Basically, as I mentioned, you don't need to every time make the API call. Actually, we'll inform you when even your interested event is happening. And the main part, actually, I think I will not repeat the previous point, but the main part, I think, but we try to standardize all events that are coming from GreenLake Cloud platform. So it's uh, it's an approach that we're trying to unify how our events look. So the formatting and the signature of the events are pretty standard across all the GreenLake services. So every time as a client, you don't need to get into much details like how parse the event in some unique way. No, event will be always parsed in one way, and the data that you're interested is coming to the same approach in the same way. So how we did standardize this? First step, there's two-step approach. So first step is we adopted the cloud events. Cloud events is a specification for describing event in a common way. Uh, it's it's kind of it's a CNCF project. It's graduated actually from the CNCF. It's adopted by many major companies. It's an approach to unify. It started from, if I'm not wrong, in the CNCF serverless working group. So it's mostly used in the cloud providers, in the companies that are actually providing cloud communication. So the way that you can describe your event. So it's a kind of, you can think as an envelope of the event you're sending. So there is a common properties in each cloud event that you can specify. Each implementation may have some different interpretation of the properties, but usually they're pretty standard. Also, cloud events allow to use different protocols, how you adopt it. Specifically, we in a GreenLake, we adopted the cloud events JSON format and through the HTTP. So because it's on the webhooks, so there's different specification of cloud events, but they usually look the same. So next slide. So what we did like after adopting the cloud event envelope format. So the envelope have to have some interpretation. So we try to make that interpretation in a way that is actually aligned with our GreenLake API standards. So we have internally in the in HPE, we have two standards for the APIs and events. So they look almost the same in the way that if you want to describe the resource through the event, through the API, and same event that happening on the same resource, those are looking the same. You are not sending more properties related to the events related to the specific resource if they are not inside the my API call that I can do. The URLs, how you're accessing this also is looking the same. So if a resource is happening from event happening for a specific resource, we are sending the URL of the associated resource. So that uniformity is actually helping you to interact. So the platform will look as a one common thing, as a uniform through APIs or through the events. And we use the developer portal, the same portal that we use for describing our APIs. Our documentation of the events goes there. We are also using OpenAPI spec to document our events. What are the specifics that we enhanced in our interpretation of the data coming in the cloud events? And what are the event types? For us, as I said, our APIs are very focused on the resources and the resource collection. So first one is how to describe something that happened with the resource when has been created, it has been updated, or it has been deleted. So event types can describe this thing. It's pretty in a common way. Every event will have this common way of describing event creation, again, update or delete. Some examples are like, let's say my device has been created in my workspace, or let's say some virtual machine has been created in my workspace. User account, let's say new user has been updated, or let's say new RBAC role has been created. We have to also address the cases when it's a event happening with the resource that we cannot describe with the resource property itself. Some example you can think as a restart of the VM or like reboot. So these things happening in the not per property change, or like it can happen like actually per some issue. So these things are what we call the custom events. And we have also non-resource related events, something that there is no associated resource, but that you cannot actually do the API, let's say, call to get the resource, but we can send, there can be associated event with it. So this we call non-resource related events. How to find actually our events? We store them in the developer GreenLake HPE.com, the same place where we have our API descriptions. We have the event catalog alongside with the API catalog. So you will be able to find them there. Currently, we don't have much there, but it will increase the number over the time. So we are starting a little slow there, but it will go up very soon. So many more events are coming to the catalog. Description of the API, so you'll be able to actually download the spec of the event. So you can actually, if you want to, let's say, create a parser on your side with a standardized, you want to actually get automated that part, it will be possible. Description is human friendly, so you can also read it in an OpenAPI spec. And it's, as I said, like all the events are going to use the same format and the same description. So all of them will happen in here. So the same place where you are seeing the, let's say, service-related APIs, alongside with it, you will be able to see also events associated with the service. Yeah, so we did also like extension of the cloud events open source specification. Vandevely is the main author of it. So I will hand over to Vandevely to continue explain. It's very interesting. We found that there was no deprecation description in a cloud event, similar how we describe, let's say, our API when they are deprecated, sunset. So how describe the same with the cloud events. So it was an interesting extension. It will improve how we communicate with our customers.
Yeah, thanks, Roman. Hi, everyone. My name is Vandevely Silva. I'm Senior Principal Architect at HPE, and I've been leading the HPE GreenLake Cloud Webhook for around 1 year. So yeah, so just link it with that Roman was mentioning regarding cloud events. Cloud events, as an envelope, provide multiple core fields, like where you can specify what is the source of the event, what is the type, what is the time the event was generated. But for other metadata of other kind of information, Cloud Event also provide extensions. And there are different extensions in the Cloud Events specification. But during our discussions around the event standard, we identified the need to inform consumers and customers when an event type is being deprecated, because typically in the API, you have that information through HTTP headers. There is RFCs for that, so you know exactly what is the sunset, when the API is being deprecated, if it's deprecated or not. So to address this scenario, our team proposed a deprecation extension for Cloud Event. That's a HPE contribution for the open source. So pretty much we have this metadata where we can notify consumers about deprecated events, and that can avoid disruptions. Consumers can prepare for this deprecation. And if you see here, it's a straightforward. I mean, we have 4 fields. One to inform when the event is being deprecated. It's a Boolean. Deprecation from, you specify the date and time when the event was marked as deprecated. The sunset, where we are going to inform when the event will become unsupported, and the migration. Maybe if you have some link to inform what is the best process to follow, or what is the new field, what is being removed. So this was an extension proposed by this group, by HPE, and was approved and accepted, and currently is part of the official Cloud Events spec. Okay, so moving forward, HPE GreenLake Cloud Webhooks. I mean, how can I access that? How can I create webhooks? And how can I start receiving notifications? So we are adding this new functionality in our platform, where the user can pretty much have two-step process. The user can inform the name, description for the webhook identification, an URL where the user will receive the notification. Must be a public endpoint using HTTPS. I'm going to cover more security aspects, and a secret. And the secret, it's really important. It's used to calculate signatures. I'm going to cover the HMAC signature later on, but you can think it's just to make sure we sign the payload we are sending. We send that to the destination, and they can confirm the integrity of this process. During the webhook registration, we also have a handshake process. So we want to ensure we are not going to put any random endpoint or some endpoint that is no valid. So just after finishing this handshake process, we start sending the events, okay? And for this initial phase, we have some limits in the platform. So the workspace, the webhook is per workspace. So each workspace can register up to 5 webhooks, and each webhook can have up to 5 subscriptions. And you can think subscriptions, it's the first level of filtering, because in an ecosystem like HPE GreenLake Cloud, you can imagine we have different servers, and they are potential event producers. So this is the first level where the user can say, hey, I want to receive events related to device, but not related to the users. So this is what we're calling as subscriptions, where the user can filter in this initial level which kind of notifications they will receive. Currently, I mean, we are starting with some important events. Currently, we have 2 events, definitely more events coming soon. But today in the platform, we have the license expiring event. This is most, if you see that today, this is happening through emails, where the user will receive email before 90, 30 days, 15 days, 1 day before the license is about to expire. So now we are providing the ability to the user to register an endpoint, create a subscription, and start receiving license expiring events. So with that, the user can take, after receiving that notification in the customer endpoint, customer is able to provide any kind of automation or integration with internal systems, creating dashboards. So this is something that is really important. Usually emails is not something that people usually monitor, or it's quite hard to create some kind of automation on top of that. And the second event we have today is the audit log. So whenever the platform records an audit log, the user can subscribe to this kind of event. An audit log would be something related to compliance or activities in real time. The same information we provide through UI today, the user can receive through webhook notifications. Okay, so talking about security, because security is a critical aspect for HPE, and in the webhook infrastructure is not different. So we have different layers of protections to ensure we are sending in a safe way and reliable way. In the webhook world, I would say there is no defined standard. We see different best practices, different providers implementing this best practice. And what we're trying to follow is trying to find the balance between usability, security, performance, and based on that, we have those layers of security. So the first one is the handshake that I mentioned. So when the user registers an endpoint, we have this handshake process. And the handshake is nothing but we send some random value, some random string, and to the user, and we expect the response back, something like a 200 response back, and sign it by the same secret used during the webhook registration. That's the secret that only HPE and the customer know. So with that process of this handshake, we can make sure that endpoint is able to receive notifications. And not only that, we want to avoid some kind of attacks where people can provide some URL endpoint that will redirect traffic to internal systems. So we want to avoid that, or some random endpoint that is not prepared to receive events. So this is the first step. And just after this process of making the webhook active, the user can start receiving notifications. Of course, HTTPS, we use TLS, HTTPS, everything is sent to in an encrypted channel. And HMAC is something that we send, when we start sending events, we create a signature of the payload using the same secret provided by the user. So the user, after receiving the event, can check, it can calculate the signature and check if it matches. So with that, we can avoid any kind of replay attack or man in the middle that can try to change the payload and send to the destination. So this is a very common practice used by most of the webhook providers, and we are also using that in HPE GreenLake Cloud. Some additional security mechanisms, they are coming off an API key, because this is something that customers that have this extra layer of security, they have this kind of requirement where we send some API key or some bearer token as part of the authorization header, so they can use that, and before sending or before processing the event, they can make sure they have this authorization in place. Okay, so the same way we take security very serious at HPE, we also have the authorization. These are top priorities for HPE. So the same strict access control we apply to APIs also extend to events. So API, we have the authorization mechanism that we ensure that only permitted users can retrieve specific information through APIs. So the event access follows the same principle. So we don't have a different authorization enforcement just for event. It's the same one we have today for APIs, for UIs. We are follow in the subscription. So if the user is able to see an information through APIs and UIs, he'll be able to receive notifications about it. If not, that's something that we have this security mechanism to make sure we have this predictable access model and we can enforce the authorization regarding the event that the user will receive. We don't have any hole in this event system. Okay, so when we're talking about some event drive architecture, I mean, we cannot assume that everything will work 100% of the time. Failures will happen, and the infra must be designed to handle this kind of failure. I mean, if you just try to send the event and it failed, if you do nothing, we cannot consider the system as a reliable system. And one important piece of this architecture, which we don't have control, is the customer side. I mean, when we're talking about the API world, when the user makes a request, he receives a response. So in the API world, when the response is wrong, or if something is wrong and it's not happening as expected, it knows right away that that's something that I need to inform the support team. I need to take some action. But in the webhook, it's some kind of just one-way communication. It's not like a request response. So sometimes the customer is not expecting data, or at least doesn't know when to receive data. So for that, we have a robust retry mechanism in place where after identifying failures, we start an automatic retry where we try for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 1 minute, hours, until 24 hours. So we, at least in some kind of disruption, the customer will be able to fix their endpoint and check what is wrong and start receiving the events again. On top of that, we have the visibility to the user. So if you see here in the UI, the user will see from the UI that a specific event was not able to be delivered. So he can see what was the payload, what was the response, and take some action. In addition to automatic retries, we also provide a manual retry capability. So from the UI, or also from through outbound APIs, the user can manually retry a failure delivery event. So the user will, the customers will have a little bit more of control regarding the event processing, so they can fix an issue and try to start receiving the events again. Okay. One important aspect to consider here: we respect the customer limits. We don't want to kill the customer processing or overload with multiple events. So if we receive HPE error codes like typically a 429 with rate limit, we respect that. So we start sending in that frequency. We respect the headers sent by the customer, and we change the rate that we're sending events. Okay. And of course, the observability that I mentioned before, the user will see the events that are flowing from the GreenLake, HPE GreenLake, to the customer endpoint. Initially, you can think when you see this term webhook, looks like it's a simple HTTP call from an event producer to the customer endpoint. It looks simple like this, but we have much more than that. So HPE GreenLake's ecosystem is a very complex ecosystem. It's a distributed environment. We have multiple servers that can act as event publisher. And the infra that we are building is designed to consume and process events from different sources in this hybrid multi-cloud environment. Okay. With that in mind, we have this very, very simplified diagram where we are illustrating. We have the control plane. This is where the user goes and register endpoints, create subscriptions. And we have the data plane. That's the most critical part, is where after some trigger, when something changes, some event publisher could send an event to us, and we are responsible to manage this event and deliver to the final destination. Of course, with retry, observability, and so on and so forth. So we are not showing crucial components here like load balancers, cache, store layer, API gate, WAF, but everything is in place. But one important aspect I'd like to mention regarding this architecture is we are using NATS as our event backbone, actually NATS with Jetstream. So NATS, we made a lot of tests with NATS, different benchmarks. It was a long journey, very interesting to learn with this team. So we are using the open source version of NATS and different deployments in different regions, but talking just a little bit about NATS. I'm not going to put details right now, but NATS initially was a simple message system, but now, not now, but they have a persistent layer called a Jetstream. Okay, so we can use NATS for a very real-time notification system. And one of the main benefits, I'm not saying there are others, message brokers like Kafka, RabbitMQ are not good. I mean, but for our use case, especially with the subject-based addressing that NATS supports, that's a use case that fits very well what we have for these event webhooks, especially when we are talking about Kafka. Kafka requires partitioning that needs to be defined upfront. Every time you need to repartition something, it's quite hard using in Kafka, but in NATS, we have this in the subject-based address. So pretty much we can query a subject. We have this hierarchical model. We can use wildcard, and Kafka use topics. So it's really complex to get specific message from Kafka or delete message. So that's something that is allowed with NATS and Jetstream. Okay. Of course, the components are designed to be in an outscale mode. As soon as we identify more load, we are able to outscale our service. And also, as Roman mentioned before, we are using cloud events to flow this the events from the GreenLake to the customer. Okay, with that, let me go to a short demo. Let me move to my this Lambda function we are creating just to illustrate a valid endpoint that is able to handle handshakes and process events. Just want to have the logs in place. But from the HPE GreenLake, okay, here, when we're managing our workspace, now we have a new card. This card, call it automations. From the automations card, we have the webhooks. Was probably being featured. We want to add different protocols, but from the webhooks, the user will have the ability to see all the webhooks register in this workspace. In this case, it's empty at this moment, and the user can register a new endpoint. So let me just get real quick some valid data that I can put in this webhook. Just 1 second. So the web registration is straightforward. So the user will provide some webhook name, some short description for the webhook. Let me put some description here. Let me put a valid webhook. This is my AWS Lambda function that will receive the event and some secret that is used for HMAX signature. Okay. So after that, if you see here, the webhook is already in active state, which means the endpoint was able to process the challenge request that I sent. So if I go over the logs real quick to show what we received, I hope it's already here. Yes. So we send a cloud event, okay? This is the cloud event sent by the platform, and we send this challenge request. And we, as a platform, we expect back this challenge request. We expect this challenge request to be signed with the HMAC and return it back in a HTTP 200 response. Okay, so with that process, we will have the webhook in active state. But now the user can start having this first level filtering regarding which kind of events the user wants to receive. So here we have the HPE GreenLake platform at this point. So the user can select, for instance, audit log. And for the event type, we have audit log created. So with that, at this point, the user will start receiving audit logs in this specific endpoint. And audit log is generated different actions in the system. So let me go ahead and create one more subscription. Let me create a subscription for the license expiring. This is the second event type we have available today. Okay, so in this case, I have this webhook endpoint registered. I have two subscriptions. One is license expiring and audit logs. I have permission to receive those notifications. Otherwise, I won't be able to subscribe to those events. And if I go ahead, let me refresh this page real quick. If I see here, I start receiving the events. So by the way, two audit logs created. I can see more information about this event. So if I see, for instance, this one, okay, this creation of subscription by user Vanda Willis. So this is an audit log event that I just received. So I have this kind of visibility from the UI, but also that's something that most probably the user will create some kind of automation on top of that. Is I can see from the logs, this is the audit log received by the user. This is the entire cloud event audit log with the information regarding the same one that I saw in the UI, creation of subscription by user is successful. And one interest point here, I think Robin covered this one, but just to show you. So in our event catalog, which is part of the payload, the cloud event payload, the user can see exactly what is the event format for that event. In audit log, this is the event format, this is the cloud event envelope, and this is the data. So the user wants to really understand the payload format because this data field might change depending of the event. If it's something related to device, users, servers, the payload will be slightly different. But from our developer portal, and this is defined using OpenAPI specs, the user can get this information. Okay? Just from here, just to illustrate a little bit more. So imagine the user is making some maintenance in the endpoint and needs to test if everything is still working. So we have the ability to test the webhook. In this case, the webhook is up and running. When something goes wrong, it will happen here. What failed, the user can see the payload and also retry in case of failure. When we start seeing failures, we change the state to warning. Even after when we exhaust the retries, that's when we move the state to an error state. Okay. Of course, from here, the user can remove a subscription. And let's say the user only wants to receive audit logs, or for some reason, at some point, some maintenance, the user wants to disable the webhook for some time. So we will stop sending events to the final destination. Okay, so the user also have the ability to unregister a webhook. And yeah, I think one more quick demo I can show is, like, imagine the user wants to put some random URL, like imagine using something like this at simple.console. This is an endpoint, it's not able to receive the events. So if the user registers this endpoint, it will automatically go to a critical state because the endpoint wasn't able to parse or finish the handshake process. And if you see here, that was exactly what failed. We receive a 403 from example.com. Probably it is a valid endpoint, but not able to receive and process the challenge request payload. Okay. So with that, let me move to, let me hand over to you, Roman.
Yeah, folks. So actually, currently, the webhook, if you log into the GreenLake platform, you will not be able to see the access to the webhook automation. However, we have the beta program, so we'll post the link, guys, also in our Slack, in our communication channels, that you can, if you want to participate in a beta program, you can just request, and we can enable it in your in your workspace. So we are planning to go to the general availability soon. So after that, all the workspaces will be able to start. This is just a kind of a slow start. We want to also collect some feedback from the early adopters' participations. So we are very welcome, guys. If you have any feedback, if you have any specifics you want to, any other features on the webhooks, feel free to send to us. We'd be glad to understand like how we can actually serve your needs and how actually webhooks and automation can be improved to address your customers and enterprise needs. What's coming next? Yeah, so we are still in the early stage, I will say. Even like, to be honest, inside the GreenLake, all other services are adopting our framework, and they are starting sending the more events. So more new events will come in the catalog. You will see that over upcoming months. This year, I hope there will be much more events in the catalog. Event filtering. So this one actually interesting. So what do we mean here? Like, you will not be able, when one will explain that subscription allows you to actually do that first level filtering. So you will subscribe to the things that you're interested. However, we want to also have the ability that even for the same resource, let's say some device, I want to subscribe one new device, let's say, added to my system. However, I may be actually big enterprise and I can use, let's say, access points, I can use the servers. Let's say I want to subscribe to the devices which have specific type. So this filtering is kind of an additional layer that you can filter on also the properties of the specific resources. So it's more granular level. So it's a little challenging to implement, but I think we want to address and be more friendly and user-friendly. Delivery rate limiter. This one, yeah, we kind of, as Van explained, we're honoring if the client-side receiver is not able to handle the load that, let's say, we are sending and it returns 429. And let's say asked to retry after some time. So that part is honored. However, we'll be able to also negotiate the rate limiter with the receiver side. So there is a kind of a common way, I will not say standardized, but common way how like webhook, when they register first time, it can negotiate the rate limits, and actually it can honor based on the first negotiations. OAuth and the API key, this is kind of a new addition. So we currently in the first release, we don't have OAuth and the API key. So it's kind of a new secure way that, let's say, some customers use on the receiver side, OAuth or API key. So we want to support that as well. So it will come to actually in the next releases of the event framework. Yeah, I think that's all, guys. Thank you a lot. So I think we can address the questions that we have received in the chat first. I think the first question is, can you explain the difference between webhooks and WebSockets? What use cases that one is preferable to be used? Very good question. We actually, we're thinking to add the WebSocket delivery mechanism as well, in addition to the webhooks. So the way that you can receive the events that we are sending through the webhook, you may be also interested to receive as a WebSocket. The main difference is between the webhooks and WebSockets, like webhooks are basically event driven. So every time you're just HTTP post, kind of, it's every time you're requesting, and basically there is a new connection happening. WebSocket is a persistent connection. You connect with the receiver side, or like actually it's a full duplex connection. So even the client can send the data back to the server. So it's persistent. So there is less time, like every time like some event happens, basically there is a less basically time is used to establish the connection. So that's the main part. It's actually reducing the time of the connection. It's very common. WebSockets are very common used in a chat. Let's say you want to chat and you want a very fast actually reply response. In an event-driven is mostly, I think webhooks are common. It's much easier to implement. And with a WebSocket also, usually some of the, when I say like it's a persistent connection, some of the intermediaries, let's say you are using some gateways in the middle, they may actually drop the connection when there is no traffic. So we have to send some heartbeats, so the connection will be actually in place. So also, WebSocket is usually used in the browser. So if you want to automate with the GreenLake platform, let's say you want to create your own UI and you want to automate some of the parts on you, so WebSocket will be very handy there. So we have it now actually in our plans now. We want to collect more information from our customers. We want to understand where they will prefer actually WebSockets instead of webhooks, so we can actually think like when to plan to implement it. But yeah, it's actually we thought about it. Again, thanks for that question.
Another question that I see here, Roma, is regarding how webhooks handle failures and transmission failures. I think we covered that. So we do have automatic retries, and also we allow users to manually retries before stopping send events. So we have that in place.
Yeah, and we also
Okay.
keep the history of the failed events, so you will be able to see which one actually have failed until you, let's say, recover your endpoint. Yeah, the question is, can webhook notify events such as success with VM provisioning? So it's kind of will be new event type. So actually anything happen on GreenLake, it can be actually processed as an event. Currently that event does not exist. Yeah. But yeah, it's we are actually, that's why I mentioned, feel free to request the events that you will be interested. Let's say you're already using GreenLake Cloud Platform, any service on a GreenLake. So, but you want actually some of the events to be sent through the webhooks. Feel free to post them, guys. We want to collect this, and we can actually try to implement those. It will be in the plans. Of course, this is the event type that can be actually implemented for sure. Another question, I'm thinking, when the array encounters so many events, how does the webhook deals with the queuing in a sync manner? You want to take that, Vandali?
Yeah, sure. So for that, as you mentioned, we do respect in case of slowness or when something goes wrong, and we have NATs to enqueue those events. So at this point, when we are starting the retry mechanism, we have the subject and the queue into NATs. So if we're able to start reprocessing the event, this is something that we can resume the process, picking up the events from the queue and sending back to the customer. So this is something that using NATs as our event system, we can take advantage of that.
Another question, what is the minimum TLS version that GreenLake webhooks expects? If I'm not wrong, it's 1.2. Vandali, you can correct me.
Yeah, 1.2, that's right.
Yep. Next question is, it says, in hybrid cloud, data sprawl can lead to the significant unnecessary storage cost. How can we ensure we are only paying for the storage we actively need and not for the dormant or redundant data. Will webhook provide a real-time method to address this? Very interesting question. It's kind of a, I think I will say in a line that how the webhooks can be used to address some of the business needs, yeah, business-related events, some more intelligent ones. I think we need. It's interesting one. I think I can take that, guys, and discuss with our product team. There is a different ways, like in a GreenLake, you can monitor your costs. So most probably this will come with the events coming from the services that are actually providing your cost estimate, or like what is your capacity of usage, what you're paying for. So definitely, I think it can be addressed, but how the event will look and where it is come from, I think we need a more discussion with the services that are actually handling these aspects in the GreenLake. But definitely, yeah, it's kind of a business use case that we'll be interested to solve. Next question, I think, does GreenLake allow to support implicit grant flow today? Unfortunately, we don't yet support the OAuth too. So I think we'll think about, like, are we using implicit flow or not? Like, I think when we start the implementation of OAuth, it's upcoming. So most probably in upcoming months, it will be in place. So we will clarify that in the documentation, basically what is the OAuth flow actually we are using. So it will be there, folks, for sure. Thank you very much for joining us today. Feel free again to contact us, guys. We'll be very happy to receive your feedback. And if you want to join the beta program again, ping us so we can then communicate with you and know that you're interested to start early adoption. Thank you very much.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Roman and Vandeveli, for your great topic and discussion today. So thank you, everyone, and see you next month for the next meetup.